when this old world seems to get me down.
All right, everybody, welcome to the final segment of the Cajun Conservative Show today, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of having my good friend and my brother, Scott Ford from the Scott Ford Show on. Scott, what's happening, man? Welcome back to the Cajun Conservative.
Thanks for having me on, Isaac. You know how I'm blessed to be on your show. I'm always blessed to be on your show. I'm proud of the friendship and the brotherhood that we've developed over the years, and I'm excited to be here. So thank you for having me again.
Oh, the pleasure's mine, my brother. And look, I want to let you know, I don't know if you know that, but I think we're getting to the point where we've been friends for close to 2 years now, because we always say this story when we're together, but a mutual friend and listener of ours teamed us up, and it was around the end of February to the beginning of March, and we've been friends ever since, talking almost every day since then.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because, I mean, quite literally an instant friendship. I mean, this isn't something that developed over time. Like, immediately we just became like, I felt like I knew you my whole life. Like, literally we were just friends right from get-go.
Yeah, and also, don't you remember that first phone call? I think we stayed on the phone, I think, for a good, maybe 30 minutes to an hour just talking. We didn't even know each other.
Yeah. It was like two teenagers in love.
Well, we won't go that far, you know. Hey, they might identify as something else, Scott. No, but Scott, you on an endeavor. You know, you've been on YouTube now for a few years, but before that, you were on radio. You did a podcast with SoundCloud. Things with YouTube happened. You went to Rumble. You have a good following on Rumble, but you got into my line of. I guess you could say my line in the game. You started a podcast about a month or two ago. Let the audience know a little bit about that, man. First off, why get back into podcasting and how you liking it so far?
I love it so far, and I don't necessarily have a why, to be honest. Like, I started out on the radio, as you said, and I loved it, except for the fact I was on FM radio. And there were so many restrictions. So the station manager would come in constantly and tell me, you can't talk about this, you can't say this. And it wasn't like I wasn't doing anything bad. I wasn't saying swear words or talking dirty, or it was nothing like that. It was just, they came up with these weird rules. Like you got to say the time at every 15 minutes, I think it was. And I had a guest host, and he was an author. And they would say, you can't talk about his book. And I was always like, why? So we would find creative ways to get around it. But then it turned out to be every show we did, they would come in, and it got to be too much. I said, well, that's when podcasting was just kind of starting to take off. And so I started off with a podcast, as you had said, on SoundCloud. And I loved it. I really did. I had a good time on SoundCloud. I do like Spotify better. So I started hearing after the fact about Spotify and Anchor and things like that. And it's much easier now than it was when I started on SoundCloud. And for some reason, when I was doing the SoundCloud podcast, everyone kept hitting me up with, you have to do like a YouTube show. And so I did take it to YouTube eventually. I listened, and I got to say, that's where my show really exploded, when I went to YouTube. But then kind of I was faced with the same thing, as you know, and as you've experienced, a lot of restrictions, a lot of you can't talk about that. And I noticed too, especially when the pandemic hit, that's when they really started flagging things. And they started flagging things with the election, and everything seemed to be completely biased. Like, if you were left wing, you could talk about anything you wanted. You could say whatever you wanted. But if you said if you were right wing and you said anything in support of your group, you'd get flagged, you'd get banned, you'd get, grounded, basically. So I took it to Rumble. And I liked Rumble a lot too, because again, it's a free speech platform. I'm an advocate for free speech. I think we should, and by the way, on both sides of the spectrum, I think we should be able to say what we want to say. This is America, and I think that should be encouraged. And that's one thing that is why we're really hurting now as a country, I believe, is the fact that free speech only seems to be going one way, and I don't support that. And so I guess the long way to answer your question, I don't know why I wanted to go back to a podcast. My heart's always been with a podcast. I love doing a podcast. So, and I've kind of got I've got 3 different shows now. I'm still doing Rumble, I'm still doing YouTube, and now I'm doing the podcast. So I'm kind of finding my way, I guess is the best way to answer your question.
So on the podcast side, you are more online of, encouragement, mental, how can I say this? Encouragement, mental strength, being a positive person. And look, like this podcast, we're generally on politics. That is our niche. This is where where we go with, and we really help people out, on that side of it. But I notice on your podcast that you're more motivational speaking. You're more of a person that wants to encourage people. And what's good about your podcast, and I'm seeing that right now, you can go either way with it because you really don't have that one narrative. You got a couple of narratives you like discussing on your podcast.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say from the get-go with the podcast, because I want to really, I can't, I really truly am trying to find my way with it, but I certainly want to keep at least a segment of every episode, some kind of positive, something uplifting, something motivational. And then I also want it to be a talk show. I really do, like where I talk about everything and anything that I want. I want to kind of be able to take and pull from the YouTube show and pull from the Rumble channel. And, even though I have the most followers on YouTube, my YouTube show, I think my most successful show is probably the Rumble show. And I don't know why necessarily people just want to hear my politics for the most part. But I want to dive into everything. I want the podcast to be everything. So it is going to be a talk show. It is going to be motivational. It is going to be life stories. It's going to be funny stories. It is probably at some point going to get some politics in it. I want it to be everything, but I guess maybe possibly one rule I might have for myself. I want at least one positive motivational segment in the podcast, but I want it to be everything. I don't want to pigeonhole it. I don't want it to be put in a box. I want it to be like, if people were to ask, what is this show about? And I guess I want the answer to be, it's about everything. There's so many things it's about.
Yeah, you dive into a little bit of I think it was your second episode I heard where you got a little bit into the political side of things. And look, you're very political. I've watched your YouTube. I watched your Rumble. And it is, that's how we met. You get what I'm saying? That's how we met, teaming up with political stuff and getting together to be both on our shows. But, I see that in you, Scott. I do see a motivator. I do see something, that you want to encourage people and to help people because you have a unique background to where is on your first episode where you talked about, look, you were just at a dead end job. You didn't want to be part of that no more necessarily. So as you said in your last episode, I listened to it. I didn't text you yet, but I did listen to it. And you said if there's no door, you make one. So that encourages me, especially moving in with just not this podcast, but every other adventure I have going on right now.
Yeah, I think thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment, and I sincerely do, because I don't just talk out of like everyone should just do this, and that's what it is. Like, I've experienced it, I've done it myself, and I've kind of been tested again with the pandemic. It severely hurt my business in a very big way. I was able to turn my life around at some point in my life, and really do things I thought could never be done. It's shocking sometimes when I think back to like where I was and what I'm doing now. But the pandemic set me back. It knocked me down a few pegs. And I've had to kind of step back and go, okay, I did it before, I can do it again. And that's also what my podcast is about. It's the journey. And I want people to join me on this journey where they don't have to just hear my story. Now they can join me on how I'm going to do it again. Like, lightning is going to strike twice again, because I'm going to do it again. Because the pandemic knocked my finances down so hard, and it did interrupt my business in a very big way. And I want to show people that it is possible to climb out of that hole, not once, but do it again. And I want them to join me. So I'm kind of in real time showing people and discussing people what I'm doing, and they can join with me and they can do it as well. They can take some of the things that I'm doing and implement it into their lives. Or they can do everything with me. They can follow exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it again, and I'm committed to it. I want to take people on that ride with me.
And look, like I said, from a listener standpoint, it's a good ride to go on. You get what I'm saying? It's very motivating. How you're showing life stories as, let's say, like that. And we all been to that part in time where we've been on a high, we've been knocked down, but we have to build ourselves back up to that point. And I think through your life, you're going to show people that in this podcast, and that's why it's encouraging.
Thank you. And a lot of it too. I talk about a lot about my Christian faith, and you're a big part of that too. You've been a huge mentor to me, and I appreciate that. And I love you for that. And I want people to know, like, we have to start building on the eternal side of things. We're going to be dead a lot longer than we're alive. So you should absolutely be working on your faith, working on your finances, working on your health. So the positive motivation side comes from a lot of Christianity. I talk about that a lot, but it also talks about, like, we've got one life here on this planet. So yes, you should be working on that other life, that eternal life. But while we're here, it just amazes me why some people just completely are content and settle on just being mediocre, on being content with living a life. Look at how many people just complain. They're not happy. They hate their finances. They hate their life. They hate the job they go to. And I want people to know that you don't have to settle for, to be mediocre. You can have an exceptional life, and you can create exceptional life. And I think we kind of owe it as Christians to do that. Like, I know so many miserable Christians, and it's kind of like defeating the purpose. You should be happy, and you need to enjoy the process as well. So make this life exceptional. You don't have to be miserable in this life and then go to an eternal paradise. You could be happy here too and then go to heaven. Like, why not have the best of both worlds?
Well, I think a lot of you going on that point, Scott, a lot of people don't realize that this world isn't our home. You get what I'm saying? And I get what you're saying. I know a lot, especially as a minister, I see it so much, seeing people say, I don't have victory in my life. I don't have success. Oh, I'm not. Well, and look, don't get me wrong. Christ didn't come here to give us success and be healthy, wealthy, and wise. He came to save our souls. But like you said, as a believer, we should be happy because, first off, we have the Savior of the world living in us. We have salvation that we found through Jesus Christ and his sacrifice on the cross. Because of that, we can have joy. We can have peace through trials and tribulation. We can go through things with extra help because he's there with us. And a lot of Christians don't grasp that part. Like you said, when I get to heaven, all this is going to be gone. Well, we're going to we're going to heaven because of Jesus, but we're kingdom citizens. We should be happy that we're going there, and we should make us happy here on this earth that we're not going to live in this world forever. Like you said, one day we will die, and I like how you just said it. We will be dead longer than we are alive.
Yeah, I just think we owe it to God, and we owe it to the sacrifice that Christ made to be happy while we're here too. You don't have to be miserable, and I think I get it. I get where people are building up their spiritual bank, the eternal life bank. I get that, and you should do that for sure. There's nothing wrong with having a good life here, though, and I think people. I just, like I said, I know too many miserable Christians, and I think they're missing the point. You should be excited to be a Christian. You should be happy. You should be a reflection of what it is to be saved, and to walk through life being miserable. I have trouble with that, and I don't live a perfect life. I have my ups, I have my downs, and again, that's part of the journey too. And I want people to understand that. Like, let's get through these downs together, and that's what I want my show to be. I want it to be, among other things, I want it to be something that's going to lift people up, where someone could go to it and say, "This guy gets it because he's been through it, and he's also currently going through it." I've had some really tough times, as we all have. I'm not saying boo-hoo me, and everyone should have, cry for me and feel sorry for me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, let's kick each other in the butt, and let's design the life we were meant to live, and let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's just stop talking. Too many people talk. Let's complain. Let's stop with the talk, and let's put things into action and make it happen.
Yeah, as they say, let's start living how we preach it, or let's start walking the talk. It's just not, you get what I'm saying? Walking the talk and just not talking. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know what? To even comment a little bit about the political side of things, and I think you and I both do this, and I think we do it very well, especially you. I love your show. Like, I'm a huge fan of your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, both of your shows, by the way, too. Brothers Just Searching and Cajun Conservative. I listen to both religiously. I love both of them. I comment on both of them, and I think what you and I do uniquely, not solely uniquely, but yeah, it is political. But at the same time, we're very fair. Like I don't. Most of my political beliefs, we'll call it, align with conservative point of view, but we also call out, fall in line just because
Hey Scott, you there?
I'm seeing that I don't like. Yeah,
Yeah, you cut in and out a little bit. Repeat what you just said, if you don't mind.
yeah, no problem. I don't just fall in line just because I'm primarily conservative. If I don't like what my side's up to, I'm going to call it out. And you do the same thing. And I love that about our shows because we are fair. So that's why it's almost like we're not political, although I get it. I know what you're saying. We are political. But at the same time, we're just calling things out. Like you said on my podcast the other day, I talked about the transgender issue. And I don't consider that political. I really don't. I just think if you are someone who says men can menstruate or men can get pregnant, that's not political to me. You're just, you're not thinking straight. You've been indoctrinated. So I kind of dissected that and talked about that in a common sense kind of way. To me, it's not even political. It's just, how can, you're not using your brain. You can't claim men can give birth. You just can't say that. It's not, what is a woman? I don't know. I'm not a biologist. You're just speaking moron language. You're not making sense when you talk like that. You can take two men, throw them on an island, and leave them alone and come back in a year and say, I want you to produce a baby. And I don't care, and I'll keep it clean, obviously, but I don't care what you do and how many ways you do it. I don't care if you add coconuts or if you add whatever. Those two men are never going to produce a baby. I don't care what happens, how it's done. It's not going to happen. So this whole idea where people are being indoctrinated, our society is being indoctrinated to say, like, it's bigotry if you say men can't give birth. That's hate speech. No, it's not. That is real speech. It's common sense. So I'm kind of calling out just the ridiculousness of all this woke culture. Men cannot give birth. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. No matter how many ways you cut it, how many ways you do it, it ain't going to happen.
No, and that's simple biology. You get what I'm saying? They look. I learned something, Scott, a long time ago, and especially in this business, and getting a lot of views on TikTok lately, and getting a lot of comments. I sent you one earlier. It don't matter what you say. Don't know how many facts you have. There's still going to be people that's going to deny the truth because it don't align with their thinking, and that's a very scary spot to be in, because even, we thought about believers, even non-believers, some of them, they embrace some truth. They have liberties. You get what I'm saying? But someone that don't live in truth and somebody that just stands in non-factual things, they're always miserable, because what if that lie is going to catch up? Then we got to make another lie to catch that up, and they're miserable. And it's just sad that we came to this point where the truth is not accepted no more and nowhere. And that's one common trait we have. We speak in truth. We don't just speak politically, because look, in the first segment, I talked about the Mike Pence documents that were found on January 16th of this month. They were found. Well, guess what? We called him out on it. He shouldn't have had them. That is not, I'm not going to sit here and say Biden did this, Biden is wrong, and you had two other figures in the Republican Party that did the exact same thing. That is wrong, and you need to call them out when you do it.
Yeah, because that's what the left does. The left was all over, including Joe Biden. I think he went on 60 Minutes, and he did this whole, I can't believe, how irresponsible that Trump was because of his documents. And then here he is. Now he's got documents coming out of his ears, and that's about the only thing he has in his head. Not much up there. But yeah, we have to call. Listen, we always say, I say it at least, and you definitely have agreed with it, where if our side is up to no good, legitimately up to no good, I want it called out. If the left is up to no good, I want it called out. The left operates with, they're just going to make stuff up about the right and run with it. But if the left is up to something and it gets exposed, well, let's start making excuses. The View, all these media platforms, when Trump had classified documents, they couldn't stop. than Biden does, and it's, well, this is different. This isn't the same thing. It's like, really? It's not the same thing?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. They say Biden tells the truth and Donald Trump always lies. So, like I said, unfortunately every politician lies. Unfortunately, so. But hey, if they didn't, we wouldn't have a job. So.
Right, and Biden has a strong history of doing nothing but lying, and all the media does is cover for him. So you just got to look. I don't know how people don't see it. That's the part that drives me insane. Is how do you not see this? How do you not see? I mean, they raided Barron Trump's bedroom at Mar-a-Lago. Hunter Biden has yet to be raided. How does that even slightly make sense?
They even went through Melania's underwear drawer, unfortunately. So, you know.
Right. Exactly.
So with Scott, so with that being said, we're almost out of time. I want to go ahead and give a shout out to give you a chance to shout out to your new podcast and where people can find you and all the episodes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I'm on Spotify. It's the Scott Ford Show on Spotify. I also have a show on YouTube, and I also have a show on Rumble. And with Rumble, the only difference is it's all one word. With Rumble, you have to type in the Scott Ford Show as in one word. The Scott Ford Show, all one word. The other shows, you just separate it like you normally would, the Scott Ford Show. But yeah, I would love for you guys to come on over and subscribe and follow the show. And I would like the people who listen to me to do the same with Isaac, because we are good friends. We think a lot alike, and we're in each other's corner fighting the good fight.
We like Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, man. We're going at it.
Yeah, except we were never boxing each other. We were never against each other. But
no.
Yeah, we're definitely in each other's corner.
Yes, sir. Scott, thank you, man, for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on here, bro.
I appreciate it. I love doing your show, and I think what is this, the third time? I think fourth time, third or fourth.
Man, I think third or fourth. It's been a minute.
It's always a pleasure to come on your show. I'll do it anytime you want.
I hear you. Well, next time, man, we might get you video on here. How about that?
What's that?
We might get you on video next time, man. Get the people to see your face.
Oh yeah, we got to do that eventually. Yeah, I'll get on video next time. We'll do that.
I hear you. Well, thank you, Scott. We appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, Isaac. God bless everybody.
You too, my brother. That was Scott Ford from the Scott Ford Show. Go check out his new podcast on Spotify. As we close out, just remember, Jesus Christ is King, and he's coming back, and he's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, reach out to me at the Cajun Conservative 5 at gmail.com, and I will tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. Please tell a friend, subscribe. You have a good one.
And he is the open